Hey, welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox, and this is
Sister Kate.
the lovely Sister Kate. We have had a great day so far.
We've had an eventful day.
An eventful day. Our dear friend and brother, the much vaunted Tim, we call him Solar Tim, from Seattle. He is the Seattle, North Puget Sound group leader, is out visiting us for a while, a period of time, and he blesses us so much when he shows up.
Yes, he does.
And so we spent this morning working on, first catching up, telling stories, seeing what's going on, and then inventorying equipment and supplies that he had pre-sent out ahead. And we're going to do some major upgrades of solar on Shofar Mountain. And I say we like I'm doing a lot more than being his helper assistant. But that's what we're going to do. And so we started doing that today. And Sister Kate, what did you do this morning?
This morning, I went shopping. I came home. I got lunch ready. And after lunch...
What did we have for lunch?
What did we have for lunch? Okay. We had a red quinoa venison, beef, cabbage, and onion cold salad with a fresh garden salad and a leftover
From Shabbat.
Sweet pea salad.
We had some salad.
And I made a mango salsa chutney. I have to give Naomi credit though. Naomi and Joe are the ones who kind of introduced me to that concept. And in it were fresh chives and lime juice and fresh dill.
So we had a delicious, lovely lunch. And then we got back on it, and it was kind of hot today. How hot do you think it was?
I think that our solar thing was saying it was 90.
It felt hotter, but it was full sun, and we haven't had full sun in high temperatures lately. So Brother Tim and I were out working, and what did you do, you lazy cow?
I went down to the orchard to do more work on the duck house and the duck pond situation.
And so if you look, she has several videos on the duck house. She had the Millennial Man help her in the initial stages, kind of stand the walls up and get the roof in place. And then she's done everything else herself, everything on it. And it's turning into quite the little tiny house down there. And so you were down there working on ponds and stuff?
Right. I had some plastic. I had laid those tarps out. You remember seeing them. The blue one's one of them, and then I had a green one. But Pastor let me know that tarps really aren't very water holding.
They're not waterproof. They're water resistant.
And I noticed that the blue one would get water and then it would drain out. So I got some plastic and I cut it and I was laying it over the tarps and repositioning things. And
so she was doing all that. She's down there working in the orchard duck situation. Tim and I are up working on solar panels, moving heavy things.
And some shoveling, did some
okay, we're done talking about that for now. And so then we were taking a break, and we were sitting on the porch in the rocking chairs, and I was telling a story, if y'all can believe that or not, getting a story out of Pastor Joe, and I was just in the middle of this story, and Sister Kate comes up. She was soaked with sweat. I mean, soaked, like she'd been in a shower. And I said, "How you doing?" And she said,
"Not good."
She said, "Not good. I almost passed out." And I actually thought she was exaggerating. And then I look over at her, and quite frankly, dear, you look like crap.
Horrible.
Her whole face was flushed red, redder than it is now. She was unsteady on her feet, and I'm like, whoa, we have a medical emergency. And so we got up, and I got a bucket of cold rainwater and a big gulp cup, and I said, "I'm going to pour this on your head." I poured it on her head, and then I poured it down her back, and then I poured it on both arms, and she was still unsteady, and she was warm, very, very warm, even with this cool water on her, but she wasn't like baking. And so then I took her inside, sat her in a chair, turned our fan on full blast, a fan that we have hooked up thanks to Solar Tim's earlier trip.
True.
And started blowing that on her, and then I got you a big glass of ice water, and then I gave her
Still have some.
a bag of chips, and I said, eat a handful of chips to get the salt in, because we don't have Gatorade laying around right now. And she looked bad for about 20 minutes. I kept checking on her, and
yeah, I felt bad. I actually went over to the freezer and got some frozen berries and was putting them on my forehead because my forehead was still so warm. It's still kind of warm.
And so then what I told her, then Tim decided to take that as a clue or a cue, and he grabbed some work. He's going to be wiring some things tonight in his hotel room. And he said, I'm just going to go do that. You take care of Sister Kate, because he is super considerate and nice. And I told Kate, you know what? We're going to go drive around in the air-conditioned car, and I'm going to take you someplace air-conditioned. And so we're going to go eat what kind of food?
Thai food.
We're going to go eat Thai food, and we're going to draw it out. We're going to order the appetizers, eat the appetizers, and then make the food order, and sit there and eat that and drink lots of iced tea and try to get her back. And then I'm going to keep her out of the sun for the next few days. Heat casualties, I think you got heat exhaustion, by the way. Heat casualties, once you get one, it's easier to get another one. And so we need to watch her and take care of her. Hydrate, 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 hydrate or die. And so, yeah, we're going to do all those things. I'll keep an eye on her. She's not going to do any too hard of physical labor coming up.
And not in the middle of the day either.
Yeah, and it was the middle of the day, which is kind of dumb. You know, mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the noonday sun. The Italians and the Mexicans have it, you know, siesta, reposo.
That's right.
So there's that. But what I wanted to talk to you all about, I think we need an impetus. Had a couple different conversations with Tim over the last 2 days, and I tell the Shofarians fairly frequently that we as Shofarians are blessed, and that people out there, which is y'all, you're included in the people out there, want what we have. And, you know, people are people, and I think in some ways we all, as Shofarians, take what we have for granted. That we have this tight-knit group that lives geographically proximate to each other, and And then I got to talking about the Viking groups and the meetups. And again, there's a lot of new people on board. The purpose of the Viking meetups, the groups, the Atlanta group, headed by David, the Seattle group, Northern, Puget Sound group, right now headed by Brother Tim. And there's somebody else.
Northern Virginia, right?
I know who you are in Puget Sound area. I just don't know if you want your name out there. But I appreciate what you're doing. But so we have these groups that meet on a fairly regular basis, and people come, and I tell you, and I'm telling you again, if you live within 3 hours of a meetup, you need to go. And the purpose of the group is so that you meet people in your area who at least have some things in common, an interest in preparedness being number one, so that you can find the 1 or 2 or 3 people, touch antennas, that you can form a mag with. See, mags, and I call them crews, like a boat crew. That's where it's at. The people who are actually going to come together when this thing goes crazy. But they don't happen overnight. You have to meet people. You have to invest time. And it saddens me that people say, yeah, I'm coming to the Viking meetup. And then they're like, well, it's an hour away. It's an hour and a half drive. It's a 2-hour drive. It's too far. You are poo-pooing something that is potentially extremely valuable and could save you and your loved ones' lives when things happen. 3 hours is not too far to drive. You need to make time. If you don't make time now, how can anybody expect you to make time later? And then when there's something offered, like we're going to do a work day, or we're going to do a community project day, or it could be anything from picking up trash on the highway as a group to going over to this old lady's house and painting her back fence. It doesn't really matter what the work is. You need to go and you need to contribute, because when we work together, we learn a lot about each other, and we learn a lot about people when they don't show up to do group work. Think about it. If I tell the Shofarians, in the beginning I had an internal struggle with, okay, who do I call Shofarians? Do I call the people who live on Shofar Mountain Shofarians? If that's the case, what do I call the people who don't live on Shofar Mountain but come to services, come to work days, come to hang out to campfires and stuff like that? What do I call them? And then what do I call the other people? And then what I decided for me is that, hey, if you want to be a Shofarian, be a Shofarian. If you want to consider yourself a Shofarian, you're a Shofarian. That's what I told people. But that phrase, if you want to be a Shofarian, be a Shofarian, that has deeper meanings. Because if you want to be, then you got to do. You got to show up. You got to be part of the whole. That applies to y'all. You have to show up. You have to invest time. Not just on a keyboard, not just a little video. You have to invest personal time. It's going to be a little bit inconvenient for you. Yes, there's something else you could do. Also, a lot of people, quite frankly, whether they realize it or not, are insecure. And they think, I present this image of being Pastor Joe Fox, who's 6'3" and, best at everything, yada, yada, yada. I'm afraid of showing up and people finding out I'm only 5'10" and not all that. Get over your big bad self. We're all human. We all have flaws. Nobody out there is perfect. Show up, contribute, play. It is oh so valuable. And then the other thing, as long as I'm on it, I don't care if it's Viking this or Viking that. I'm not trying to create a Viking empire. I'm just trying to use Viking preparedness as a tool, as a jumping off point for y'all to come together and form crews, mags, teams. I don't care if nobody on your crew is here on Patreon on Viking Preparedness, or even knows who Pastor Joe Fox is. I don't care. I don't care. I want you guys to get together with like-minded people. And so the way I help do that is help facilitate, encourage, cajole Viking meetups. And that's what I call them. So please go if there's one near you. If there's not one near you, host one. Host it and they will come.
Plan it, execute it.
Find a place, first of all, that you're going to do it. A public place where people can be comfortable, ideally with a bathroom that they can use. A place where you can either bring food and drink or buy it while you're there, or whatever helps lubricate, conversation and stuff like that. Decide what you want to talk about at your meeting. Maybe have one little class on something. You're going to have to do this. If you're scheduling this thing, initially you're going to have to do all the work. And then put out the word. We're having a Viking meetup here. Some people are dutifully doing this and they get like 3 or 4 people and they keep having them. Those are stalwart workers right there, and I know who you are. Some people are having wild success and 20 or 30 people are coming. That's awesome. When you have your first meeting, already have planned your second meeting so you can tell everybody about it, and so that people can come. And they can bring, well, you decide what your rules are, but I think you should let people bring anybody who's interested to this thing. Their neighbor, their cousin, their aunt. They don't have to be Vikings. They're called Viking meetups because we are setting them up and doing them, but anybody can come. Find your tribe. Plug in. Something else Tim and I were talking about today. I've gotten this comment from many people over the years. Well, I'm old and I have no legs and I only have half a lung. How am I ever going to get in a group? Get in a group now, because if you think it's hard to get in a group now, it'll be impossible to get in a group later. Later, after the event, trying to join a tribe, everybody, whether they realize it or not, is going to do calorie math. Is it worth the calories to bring you in? I have so many calories. If I bring you in, I'm going to deplete that by 1,000,000 calories a year. Are you worth it? But if you join now and become part of the team and you're always there and you're always contributing and you're just part of us, the us, when the event happens, nobody's going to kick you to the curb. You're in. Think about that. Get together. Meet people. I was talking to Brother Tim. You got to cast a big net many times to catch many fish, to sift through the fish, to find the two that you can work with. It's an ongoing process. I want you guys to start taking this seriously, please. Time is getting short, and you need to take the time to meet the people, invest yourself in the group, demonstrate worth, assess worth, get together and start storming, forming, norming, and performing. I did that backwards. Forming, storming, norming, and performing. It's a process groups go through. All right. I'm going to be busy this week, but I'm going to try and get videos out every day. And maybe tomorrow we'll do a little bit of solar video, show you what we're up to. Do you have anything to add to the people, my love?
Nope. You're stronger together.
Stronger together. Amen. All right. I'll see you out there.